I've got the console open again, and I want to go through some examples about object.create, how it works, what the prototype means. The first thing you need to know is that the object.create method has to take a prototype. Remember, it took 2 arguments. You have to include a prototype. What happens if we don't? Well, let's have a look. Let's define a dog variable, object.create. What happens now? We get an error, type error. Object prototype may only be an object or null. Okay, well, what's the most simple object we can create? Let's do one. Let's clear the console. Let's create another dog object. But this time, let's say object.create, and let's just pass null. Remember, we can either pass null or an object. When we pass null and we log out dog, it's literally created an empty object. But now when I open this object, we shouldn't have any prototype because we've defined its prototype as nothing. When I open it up, we've got no properties on this object. No prototype. Weird, right? Okay. But it doesn't mean we can't work with it. We can work with it. We can go dog name equals Fluffy. And now its name is Fluffy. So when I console log out dog, its only property and value is its name, which is a string, Fluffy. But it would be cool if we can get even more complicated here. How do we add prototypes? Let me show you. So again, let's clear the console. Okay, first things first. Remember, with object.create, the first argument you can pass is the prototype. And that prototype, we've learned, has to be either an object or null. So let's create an object. So let's just do it with an object literal way. So let's say dog proto equals, and let's define a method called woof. And woof just needs to console log this sound. We haven't defined sound yet, but we will. You'll see how we'll do it. There you go. So we've defined our dog proto object that we want to be accessible from any object we use with this prototype. So let's create a dog then. Let dog equal object.create, and let's pass in this prototype that we've just created. And we know it's going to be valid because it is an object. What's going to happen now? Well, let's log out dog. You can see it's an empty object, and it's empty because we haven't defined any name value pairs. But if we open this up, we now have a prototype object. And if we open that up, part of that is this function, woof, that we've defined. How awesome is this? It's cool, right? You've got a lot more flexibility because you can literally decide where you want prototypes to belong to which objects. It's awesome. And now let's start accessing this woof method. Obviously, if you just woof now, it's going to come back undefined because we haven't defined this .sound. We haven't got a sound property on the dog yet. So let's say dog sound equals woof. Now we should be able to make the call, dog.woof. And it goes woof. But have you really noticed it would have been cool if we could have passed in that sound value when we actually created the dog object? Here we had to first create it, then we had to go dog.sound and set a property of that dog to be the sound. It would be cool if we could have just done that straight off the bat. Let's see how to do that. It's not that difficult. Remember, with the object create method, we've got the optional parameter and you can pass in its value. Well, let's do it. Let me show you how it works. Let's say let's say cat comes along. And but we've called it dog proto. So let's say dog 2 comes along. Dog 2 comes along. We're going to create an object. The prototype, we want it to be the dog proto. But the second argument, we want to pass in a property value. And you have to do it in the form of an object. So let's open up the curly braces. Now we want the property name to be sound. And the syntax might look weird, but you just got to learn how to comply with the rules of JavaScript, and that is we need another object now because you can set a few different properties on this, but we want its value to be bow wow, not woof woof. This is a strong dog, bow wow. And then we can close off the whole object, which is a second argument, close the brackets to finish it off, and we are done. we've literally now passed in sound into dog2. So dog2 immediately has access to woof. Sorry, that was dog woof. Dog2, woof, should get bow wow. And it has. So this is object.create. You've just learned a whole new way to create an object where you've got the flexibility to create your own prototypes that you pass through into the object.